Great. Welcome, everyone. We have a amazing start to the community call. We have good to see quite a bit of new faces. So the Interledger community calls happen every month. During our community calls, we invite the community to share and discuss the project that are built on the Interledger protocol. And this is a great place to get news from across the community and ask any questions that you have from the people who are directly involved with the projects. And without further ado, I would like to start with inviting Alex to share updates from the Interledger Foundation side. Alex, over to you.
Thank you. That was very unexpected. I was expecting it first today. So let me start with the summit. The summit is always the most important thing we do, and that's literally a month away, exactly a month away. If you were a speaker, you probably already got an email from us telling you about the next steps and what happens next. We have finished selecting the speakers. We're going to make the live announcement on Monday morning. We're trying to finalize the schedule for that. We're really, really excited. So far, we've got 150 people with tickets. It's a bit more than we expected. We were expecting around 100 people. It's good to see that a month in advance, there's 150 people who want to come to the summit. We have made the decision to expand it from the 100 people we were planning to have. So we might even get more than that. We're really excited to expand the capacity for that. Programming looks good. We're going to have 3 tracks. The Keynotes track that goes up just after lunch. The breakout sessions that starts after lunch, which has conversations more than talks. It's all about participation and working towards something together. And we have a hack room that starts at noon and finishes at 6 p.m. And the whole purpose of the hack room is every project in the ecosystem brings their own issues there for other people to hack on, play with. There's going to be some exciting new things that get announced in the morning keynote that we can hack on and play with during the hack time in the hack room. We're going to have that available for everybody. Hopefully there's going to be Interledger accounts to play with in one form or another. I'm not going to give you more spoilers, but the summit's looking good. If you haven't bought your ticket, if you haven't got the ticket, it's free yet. I strongly encourage you to get one. Even if the ticket says waiting list, that's just a 2-step process we're using. So if you join the waiting list, in like 5 minutes or so, you get an approval for the waiting list, which you have to finish. We're trying to make it so we make sure people do want to come to the summit. One of the other updates, the other updates to the foundation is we are on a trip to Nigeria, trying to meet with financial services in the ecosystem. We've had a week full of conversations. We had a week full of conversations here in Nigeria. They're going really well. A lot of people interested in what Interledger has to offer, and a lot of people curious to see how they could put this into their product offerings as well. I feel like Chris has also an update around the grantees and the CFP, the financial services CFP. So I'm going to let Chris finish the Interledger update. Chris?
Hello, everybody. I was supposed to be with my colleague Alex there and Brianna, but COVID had other thoughts about that. So I'm excited and rooting them on from afar. This is an exciting community call today because this is the first one where we have invited our recent call for proposal winners in our financial services. I know I've been talking about that a lot on this call over the last bunch of months. So they are now joining. We're asking that they have representatives at this call from their team. So welcome, everyone. I see a bunch of folks on there. And as soon as I stop talking, I will go ahead and post some links in the chat with the announcement and whatnot. So you can see if you don't know already, or you're not one of them actually, who was awarded those grants. But these are, as you remember, the research and development grants towards building financial services in the Interledger ecosystem and network. digital wallets, neobanks, so on and so forth. It's obviously a lot more detailed than that with these specific projects now. So we're amazingly happy that they're with us, and welcome all of those folks to the call. This is the one great place to sort of hear updates from everyone who's busy working, and that will be you all soon enough. And so we look forward to your updates and your builds and your excitement and your asks for requests and help and all of that stuff. Other than that, as Alex said, we're working towards the summit and starting to plan for next year. So I think that's it for Interledger, Alex, you and I.
I think I've left some things out in my excitement to hear about the financial services CFP, because I'm tremendously excited about everybody. Some people already started reaching out to see how they could plug the tech into it, and that's really good. That's really, really good. On top of that, research trip that we're doing, and one of the projects that we're working on, and we're trying to see how that helps the financial services CFP, is we have a new work stream that we're working on with Moduloop to try to put Rafiki into a Moduloop network, and to help facilitate that. Moduloop is running a conference the week after next in Zanzibar. We're going to attend the conference, give a short state of the Interledger overview, and we're going to try to hash out exactly how Rafiki can be plugged into a Moduloop network, essentially allowing an entire Moduloop hub to be connected to Interledger without every participant having to have a connection into the ecosystem by using a proxy, financial service as a proxy in between. We've also, you might have noticed this on GitHub, but we've also have a new developer starting at the ILF working on Rafiki. I think Max is on the call, somewhere on the call. Max, do you wanna unmute and say hi to people?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the intro, Alex. Hey everyone, my name is Max. I'm my second week, I guess, officially at Interledger, and working on Rafiki. Very excited to contribute to the repo, to meet all of you, and work on building something awesome. Background wise, come from a neobank, sort of most recently my experience coming from neobank, and now I'm really happy to be building something out in the open for everyone. So thank you for the welcome, guys.
Thank you, Max. I think Max already finished with his first pull request in the first week. That was amazing. Started working on some new stuff. But if you'd like to, be more like Max and help have your first pull request into Rafiki, we are triaging a set of good first issues or good first bugs we need help with. It's also Oktoberfest season, so if you're a developer and you're looking for an extra T-shirt, we are doing T-shirts for pull requests on the Rafiki repo. Every pull request counts. Here's the link to select pull requests that are good to start with, and if you click one of those, we'll send over a T-shirt as well from the foundation. I think that really concludes the foundation update. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Chris, and welcome, Max. Next, I'd like to invite Sabine to share the update.
So there's probably going to be some spillover here with my presentation later, but within Rafiki, we have been working on the integration of the Rafiki backend with the Auth server. It's still a work in progress. We still have to figure out all the signatures that we need to generate and that we need to validate for open payments. I'll talk about this a little bit later. And to help with that, Max actually agreed to spearhead a new project within Rafiki, which is an open payments SDK that will strip all this functionality away, such that developers don't have to implement that all themselves, because we're struggling with it, so we don't want to put this burden on everybody. But yeah, making progress, and I'm pushing everybody to get their things done, because I want to show a demo at the ILP Summit. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Sabine. Adrian, would you like to go next?
There we go. Thanks, Neil. So sorry I missed last call. been doing a bit of traveling and various other engagements. Update from our side, yeah, we had a pretty bumpy last couple of months. Not sure if folks are aware, there's a bit of a crypto, a bit of a like I don't know what to call it, fintech winter that followed the crypto winter. So the CFPB, who's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in the US, released a report a little while ago where they called out a couple of the banks in the US that are sponsoring fintechs for, in essence, poor governance of the projects, the programs that they're doing with them. We've unfortunately had some bad luck there where the bank, one of the banks involved was our original partner bank we had been working with. That's what set us back. You'll recall a few months ago, we had plans to be live with an MVP in July, and unfortunately got set back by our sponsor bank being actually the main subject of that CFPB investigation. Sadly, the public release of the investigation meant we had a double whammy. So the new sponsor bank we were working with got spooked by the CFPB, and I think a lot of fintech sponsor banks around the US have been the same, and they have also paused all new programs with small partners, with small startup partners. The crux of it is that the way the sponsor banks were working is, they offer effectively the full bank back end, including taking on all the risk and compliance risk and so on for the fintechs. And while they were focusing, I think, pretty well on their Bank Security Act obligations and their compliance and so on, what the CFPB was concerned about is their focus on business model. And so worried about fintechs launching products with the bank, signing up hundreds or thousands of customers who all put money into the fintech, and then the fintech actually runs out of money itself and can no longer operate. And so now you've got customers with accounts at a bank, basically, and money in that bank, but the whole interface that they use to transact has disappeared. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey for us figuring all of this out. The good news is we've managed to make a plan. We found an alternative partner. They're not a bank. They're a fintech themselves. They're not focused as much on enabling accounts, but more on payments. So actually a better fit for us, and specifically cross-border payments. That's really a specialty for them, cross-border out of the US. So we're right in the midst of wrapping up our integration with them, and we're actually hoping to have something ready by the end of the month to get some beta users on board and give us some early feedback. The scope of the product is now trimmed down a little bit. Basically, our go-to-market product will allow somebody to sign up, do a very basic KYC, link a debit card, link a bank account, do payments, peer-to-peer payments, where the source of funds is the debit card or the destination is the bank account, but all facilitated with open payments and a payment pointer and so on. So that's where we're starting, and our roadmap is to continue adding different linked account possibilities as soon as we can. So we anticipate allowing sending to a debit card pretty soon, and what that means is the funds clear instantly, which is really nice. And then we've got plans to roll out receive-only payment pointers for things like mobile money, and allowing sending from a bank account using ACH direct debit. We also had a discussion with a partner yesterday about enabling RTP as a funding source. So that's the real-time payments rail in the US. So that would allow us to pull money in instantly. And then probably the most interesting feature that we'll be able to roll out by the end of the year, we believe we'll have access to the platform in about a month's time. So we'll probably release it from our side around the end of November, early December, is actually holding a balance. So you'll be able to have an internal balance. It won't be a fully bank-backed account like we used to have, where we were planning to have a full direct deposit account backed by a bank. It's a much more lightweight vehicle behind that, but what it means is the costs and the overhead of running that are much lower. So we're hoping that makes us a little more agile and allows us to offer like a much more compelling product around that. So that's where we are. It's been quite a big bump in the road, unfortunately, in terms of us getting live. MVP will still only be US focused, just to get us going. But we're still actively looking at how we can expand that beyond the US. And then I'm very keen to partner up with other folks who want to issue payment pointers and try and provide them with a technical platform to do that. Anything where we can find a partner that is able to provide the financial services backing that, we can assist with the technology piece on top, and allow folks to issue payment pointers anywhere in the world that we can make this work. So excited about this new partner. They've got pretty extensive reach globally, and they're already looking at adding new internal accounts in different currencies like Mexican pesos and Indonesian, I think it's rupees, and then a variety of others, pounds sterling, euros, etc. So we're still kind of finalizing our roadmap on the back of all of that and all of these changes, but very positive about that. And then on the sort of unrelated to the product, we'll be at the Interledger Summit. So myself and Matt, our CTO, are both planning to be there. I have a talk where I'll get into the details of payment pointers, kind of the vision that we have for how payment pointers unlock, digital wallets and create this open ecosystem for digital wallets. Really, we were having a discussion with somebody the other day about this, and the way I'm thinking about this is that we've got these platform wallets like Apple Pay and Google Pay, which we're forced to use because we use the platforms on which they built. And in many respects, what we want to build with open payments and payment pointers and Interledger is sort of the Mozilla of that world. It's going to be I think it's going to be a tough fight, but I think it's a fight worth having. We want to be the open, independent alternative that people have to digital wallets that they get from their platform. So that's a kind of a little taster of what I'm going to be discussing at the summit, and then Matt and I will be facilitating some hacks. We plan to have the bulk of our API functionality with open payments available in a sandbox for folks to build on. But what that means is you'll be building on our on our pre-release product. So soon after the summit, we're hoping to have everything that people build on in the sandbox in production and ready for folks to actually take into production themselves. So specific scope of that is not 100% nailed down yet, but we want to have as much of the open payments functionality available and enabled for everyone by the time we're at the summit as we can. We'll know the specifics close to the time. And that's it from our side, Manil.
Great. Thanks, Adria. Next, YouTube was supposed to be, I think, share update on Coil. Stefan, would you like to share updates from Coil for the community?
I don't know if I have much in the way of updates. Obviously, we're very excited for the event coming up, and I also have a project that I've been working on that I'm excited to share there. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now. So everybody get hyped for the summit.
Awesome. Thanks, Stefan. And we open up the space for questions for the updates so far. So if anyone have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Great. So we have Sabine agreed to came forward to do a session for us today for the community on what is Rafiki and how to get started. So we'll pass over to Sabine for the session. Sabine, over to you.
Sure. See if I can get the right screen shared. Oh no. Too many things open. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Thank you, Sarah. So Vanille asked me to do a getting started with Rafiki session, and I hope this is what he had in mind. I realize now that we have all the FSP grantees on the call that maybe I should have dug deeper on or on some other aspects that I'm going to. I try to basically give it a high level overview of everything that Rafiki includes, and I'm happy to do some more like deep dive into some parts later on if that's necessary and people are interested in that. All right, so what is Rafiki? It was introduced by Stefan quite some time ago as the all-in-one solution for Interledger wallets. So what does it mean? Let's say we have a wallet. It has some identity provider with it. So it has some login and KYC functionality. It has its own account service. And then they just can start up Rafiki that does everything ILP. The reason we wanted to have that is that we've heard from wallets that have already enabled some ILP functionality that it was a huge pain for them to implement that all themselves and then to maintain it. And so we decided we should help those wallets out such that we have much more wallets or even other kind of any kind of account provider to be ILP enabled. So this is what Rafiki is supposed to do. The blog post that Stefan published quite some time ago also had a nice overview of what Rafiki should accomplish. So we wanted to do sending, receiving invoices, mandates, and apps. Back then, we only were able to do receiving, and like if we are honest to ourselves, it's still the only thing we have is receiving. You can receive web monetization payments that Coil sends out to the pages that you browse. Rafiki, when it's launched and is all enabled and famous, should give us everything else. However, we did do some changes to the nomenclature. So we don't have invoices and we don't have mandates anymore, but we call them now incoming payments for invoices, and then a combination of outgoing payments and grants for what we used to call mandates. The reason we did that is that previously, when we did open payments version 1, we used Auth'd 2 for everything off and tried to shoehorn our use case into the Auth'd 2 way of doing things. And then I don't know who it was, but somebody came across a new authorization protocol that's called GNAP. And that just makes things much easier. It allows us to define much more fine-grained access control. And that uses this notion of grants. So we have grants that say who can access whose account and for what. And yeah, so apps still the same. And yeah, sending and receiving, that is SPSP. Incoming payments and outgoing payments plus grants is open payments. And then apps, actually, is also kind of open payments. So we want to connect apps to your wallet, and you would probably do that via open payments. So you would give an app access to your wallet by allowing it to create incoming payments or outgoing payments on your account. All right, so that's what Rafiki should enable. And that is how we are trying to do that. So that's the architecture we have right now. Again, I have the overall wallet here. It has its own identity provider, and it has its own account service. It has all this big thing of Rafiki, and then there are some third-party apps that consume some APIs, specifically the open payments APIs of Rafiki, and then we have the peers and direct ILP users that consume the stream endpoint. So those are all the participants we have, and then the main thing that Rafiki is its backend. The backend has, as I just said, the open payments APIs, and I'll talk a bit about open payments on the next slides. And then it has the admin APIs that the wallet itself will consume. So basically, whenever somebody, basically that is to create a peer within Rafiki, that is to add liquidity or withdraw liquidity from Rafiki. So anything that the account provider itself would do, that it would do with the admin APIs. We do have a bunch of databases that our backend needs. So we have one that holds all the application data. We have one that just holds the stream connection information. And then we use Tiger Beetle for the balance logic. I mean, Tiger Beetle was explicitly designed to do balances, and Rafiki uses that. And then a smaller part of Rafiki is its own auth server. And I just mentioned that before. We use an opinionated GNAP auth server. GNAP stands for Grant Negotiation Authorization Protocol. And that stores basically the grants that decide who can create incoming or outgoing payments on somebody else's account. That itself also uses a database to just store those grants. So the main difference to OAuth is where we have usually those JWTs that encode all the information about the access, and the auth server itself can be pretty stateless, whereas for GNAP, that's not the case. The access tokens are opaque. They don't store any information, and all the information about that access is stored with the auth server. Another difference that GNAP introduces is that it's not just access control via a token, but those tokens are actually bound to signatures. So every request to an open payments API endpoint has to be signed by some private key that when the backend receives that request, checks that it actually knows who that is, and there's basically an extra layer of security added there by adding a signature scheme. Okay, I think I've actually talked through a lot of those things that I have on my next slides already. So the admin APIs, as I said, is how wallets integrate with Rafiki. So it's a GraphQL API, and that allows the wallets to create and query assets, peers, payment pointers, clients, which are the keys for the signatures that I just talked about, and then payments. So that could be open payments, incoming payments, outgoing payments, quotes too. And it allows to add and withdraw liquidity from Rafiki. And then we have the open payment APIs, and this is how third parties integrate with Rafiki. These are RESTful APIs, and they allow you to create and query incoming payments, quotes, outgoing payments, and connections. So I'm going to explain the open payments concepts a bit. We've talked about it on that call, but since we have so many new people this time, I thought maybe it's a good idea to explain those too. So I try to come up with some graphics of how they could look like in some form of UI. For incoming payments, it was specifically complicated because we don't really have that right now. But basically, it's almost like, think of when you go to your online banking, and there is you can see all your transaction history, and instead of just seeing the payments that have already gotten to you, you can also see those that you are going to receive. The first one is I myself created an incoming payment for Alice to repay her loan that I gave to her. I gave her a cash loan of 10 euros, and I want her to repay me, and I created this incoming payment. I'm basically waiting for Alice to send me my money. And then there's also Game Store. I have been playing an online game, and somewhere in there has purchased a sword from me, and I haven't received the money yet. Like there has been some sort of checkout flow in the game, but I haven't received the money yet. I'm waiting, and as soon as this isn't pending anymore, I will release the sword and give it to Bob. But I have 2 incoming payments that are already completed. So I have already received my web monetization earnings for today. Huge, so that's future talk. And then I've received a refund from Shoe Shop. I ordered some shoes and didn't like them, sent them back. And the shoe shop actually created an incoming payment on my account to send back the money that I paid on their store. So incoming payments, they can be created by myself, and they can be created by some third party if they have the right to do so with a brand. I also included the JSON blob of what all the information that an incoming payment actually holds. I simplified that a bit, so it has the incoming amount, but it also says how much has been already received. So pending could be nothing has been received, or some of it has been received. I mean, pending on the image that I just showed. Right, but I'm not going to go too much into detail. I'm sure the presentation is going to be shared, and then you can look at that there. Then we have the concept of a quote, and that is basically there to figure out how much it is going to cost me to spend some money via the Interledger network. So this example is, again, my shoes. I want to buy very expensive shoes, and during the checkout flow, I get to this consent screen, and it says Shoe Shop wants to send $165 to its account for my purchase, and this will cost me 0.0088 Bitcoin, because I decided to pay with Bitcoin here. And basically what happens under the hood is we check on 2 things, basically. First, how much is it actually going to cost me to send that via the Interledger network, but then also the wallet itself, and here I'm using just $wallet, that is maybe adding some fees on top of that. So that's what the quote is for. And then I can be like, yeah, I consent to that. Let shoe shop send the money to itself, or no, this is actually too expensive. I stop the purchase right here. Again, this is the data structure that we have for that. And then finally, well, not finally, but the other big one is the outgoing payment. I tried to do a demonstration of that using the transaction example again. So I have up here Happy Donuts that wants to send 10 euros to itself because I got some donuts at the donut store. So when paying at the donut store, I decided to pay with Interledger or via open payments, and I allowed Happy Donuts access to my account to send 10 euros to itself. So this is what this little arrow means. Happy Donuts actually created this outgoing payment and is going to send it to itself. And then I created an outgoing payment on my own account to send money to Charlie. That is for some clothes that I bought. I gave Coil access to my account on a recurrent basis, so that's what we can do with outgoing payments as well. You can specify subscription payments. So Coil is every month, Coil is allowed to create an outgoing payment on my account to itself for my subscription fee of $5. And then here we have Shoe Shop, the original purchase before I sent the shoes back. They created an outgoing payment on my account to send the money for my shoes to themselves. Yeah, that is the data blob. Again, I think it's not a good idea to go through that on the call. And then the last thing we have is a connection, and I didn't really know how to put that into a nice graphic, but basically it is a way for making payments more privacy preserving. We were thinking about the web monetization use case, and the way it works right now is that the extension locally creates all the ILP packets and sends them. So Coil doesn't learn about the places you have been browsing via the payment pointer. And the new way web monetization could work with open payments, originally we thought we'll just give the web monetization provider the payment pointer, they'll create an incoming payment and then send the money. However, that then breaks the privacy preserving a way of doing things that we had before. So we decided to introduce this concept of connection such that the browser or the extension can locally again create the incoming payment and then only give the information necessary for the web monetization provider to it. So that's basically the stream connection details. So it doesn't learn anything about the user where it has been browsing via this connection concept. All right, and then the open payments authorization, as I said, it's opinionated GNAP. So the authorization server stores the details of the grants, but like I said, it's like who can access accounts for what. I think I said all those things. The tokens are opaque, and yeah, obviously the auth server also allows for token introspection. Every request on open payments needs an access token, and all of those requests have to be signed by a private key. I have a flow diagram of how open payments payment is actually happening, and yeah, let me just walk you through that. So we have two participants here. We have a client and we have a customer. with client, like think of the shoe shop, and then the client has some wallet provider that runs some Rafiki, that is the yellow part, and then the customer is on some other wallet that also runs some Rafiki, that's the green. So the client will first create a grant request to be able to create an incoming payment to the auth server. It will get back the grant and access token pretty much right away because there's no interaction necessary. Incoming payments are just auth such that we can prevent DDoS attacks. So the client receives the grant and the access token, and it will use this access token to do the incoming payment creation request to the backend. The backend, I skipped that part, but it will validate the signature, but it will then also do token introspection. And on token introspection, it will get back whether this token is valid and also all the grant details, and check if this client can actually create an incoming payment. If that's true, then it will return the incoming payment to the client. The purple means that happens on the front channel. So then the client, so shoe shop, will prompt the customer to pay into this incoming payment. So it's basically, hey, here's your invoice. Please pay for that. And the customer decides to continue paying using open payments, so it provides a payment pointer. The client will then query the customer's payment pointer and get back the details of where to find the auth server to request a grant to actually access the customer's account. It will do a request for a quote and outgoing payment grant to the auth server of the customer. And the auth server will return information of how to actually get the consent of the customer to pay, to pay to itself. So again, on the front channel, the customer on logout is redirected to the identity provider of the of its wallet, and it will see the consent, something like the consent screen that I showed you earlier. Do you agree to spend to have shoe shop grab that much money out of your account? Yes or no? And the customer will, in this case, say yes, and the client will be notified that the customer has interacted with the IDP, so the client can then do a continue request to the auth server, and the auth server will check, has the client actually accepted? It did, so it will return the grant and the access token. And then finally, actually, I think I messed something up here, but finally it can then create the outgoing payment. And the backend will inspect the token again that the client has provided, and it will realize it's valid. It will additionally here at this step do some accounting. So it could be that there is a valid grant, but the money that was allowed to be sent out of this grant has already been spent or has already partly been spent. So the backend itself will do some accounting to check that there's still enough money available to spend under this grant. And if this check actually passes, it will send the money and return the outgoing payment details. The thing I messed up here is I should have done a different step for quote generation and for the outgoing payment, because I told you that on the consent screen you already see the quote, but that would actually not have been possible here. So that's what I messed up. So I have to redo this diagram and add this additional step. So yeah, quite a few steps here, and a lot of detail. Like I said, I'm happy to dive deeper into some of those things later on. Yeah, Vinny asked me to also talk about the current status of things. So when we go back to this architecture diagram, the things that are still yellow that's what we're still working on. So we're making some final changes to the auth server. We're working on the integration between the backend and the auth server. And we also have a mock identity provider that we're working on, such that as a developer, you can actually play through this entire flow of an open payments payment with some interaction. So those are the things that we are still working on. And then the resources that I was supposed to give you. So I hope this is going to be shared somewhere, probably on the forum. But we have obviously the Rafiki GitHub repository. It's an open source project, so everybody can check that out. In there is it's a little bit hidden, but there's a README on how to get a local playground up and running. So this actually starts a mock account provider. It starts the entire Rafiki. It actually it starts 2 account providers and 2 Rafikis. It peers it on startup. It already provides some liquidity for the peers, and you can then go ahead and interact with that, either with the admin APIs or the open payment APIs. We have a Postman collection that has all the endpoints included, and even some example directories that when you send the request in the order of the examples that are in this directory, you don't have to look for the right ones. So basically, it's like create an incoming payment, then use this incoming payment to create a quote, use this quote to create an outgoing payment. So there's a little bit of follow this tutorial and you'll get to where you want to go. Then I have the open payment spec linked here. I also have the auth server spec linked here, and then for people that want to learn more about the KNAPP spec itself, also included the link here. And then next question, how to participate. First of all, we have a roadmap that is public, so you can always check out what's happening with Rafiki right now. What are we working on, and what do we want to work on in the future? We have over 100 issues, so like Alex said earlier, go wild and grab some and help us get Rafiki over the finish line. We have a Rafiki planning call that's open. That's every Monday, where we basically talk about what we've been working on so far and discuss issues that we have currently. And then obviously this community call is also a good way to find somebody that will help you with your challenges on Rafiki. All right, I think this is all I had.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sabine. We'll take a couple of questions from the participants if there are any questions. I see GFAM has one question in the chat.
No, I just answered it, but let me say it out loud, I guess. So I think it's worth pointing out what Sabine's showing here is technology, right? Rafiki's it's an implementation of all the Interledger standards. But on the back end, what the wallet actually offers you, whether it's Bitcoin, XRP, USD, is totally up to the wallet. So I think you've listed Uphold, MetaMask, and Zum in your in your question, I would say all of them could implement, could run a Rafiki instance to become part of this network. So Auth'd obviously are already part of the Interledger network. They already issue payment pointers. They can only receive payments today from Coil. If they were to deploy a Rafiki instance and get their systems upgraded, they could do this full suite of functionality that Sabine's talked about. MetaMask and Zoom could likewise deploy Rafiki and do the same. Obviously, what that actually means on the back end for them and how they actually move the money in and out of their systems and onto the Interledger network is going to differ from wallet to wallet.
Awesome. Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah, so I think like it's worth pointing out, I mean, Sabine's presentation is an amazing overview of like all the functions, but it's worth pointing out that Rafiki is not it's not an account system. So the assumption that Rafiki makes is that you already have a system of accounts where you're keeping track of your users' money or their external accounts and where that money is. What Rafiki does is all the hard work in orchestrating payments over Interledger as set up through open payments and tying them back to like a payment pointer. So the general flow is like if money's coming in, the message comes into Rafiki as a payment into a payment pointer, and then Rafiki notifies the account provider, hey, there's money that's come in over this peer, and this is where it's supposed to go. And then the account provider says, okay, great, thanks. I'll credit the user's account. You can, you can discard that in your kind of internal store. Sort of like a little ephemeral holding place for money as it's coming in and out the wallet. But the actual accounts that hold the money are not on Rafiki itself.
That makes sense. I guess I was thinking about instances where you might receive a currency that you may not want or you don't have any use for. But yeah, I think that makes sense. You'd need to hook it up with your different account providers.
Yeah, I guess in your case, in that case, like if someone wanted to send you a currency you don't want, it would be pretty hard for them to do that, because remember, Rafiki's like it's handling a couple of layers of the Interledger stack. You've got the Interledger layer, which is where your wallet provider is actually got its incoming peer connections, and so those will have some sort of settlement currency, and then if your wallet offers accounts in other currencies, then they need to be able to convert from that peer settlement currency into the internal currencies of the wallet. So that's all sort of outside of the control of Rafiki. But once you've got that plumbing set up, then Rafiki makes it really easy to kind of facilitate all of this to actually accept the payment messages and so on. I think the really cool value add that Rafiki and Open Payments adds is the ability to orchestrate things like outgoing payments, basically create these APIs that allow you to do things like recurring payments and e-commerce checkouts, where instead of you having to push the money to the store, you just give the store your payment pointer and they request the money out of your wallet, and your wallet prompts you to authorize it and you say yes, and then the wallet sends the money out. And so it's kind of like building on the really like the solid foundation you get from Interledger. Now you're adding kind of the use case specific to the application layer.
Awesome. As long as Sabine gets her shoes, I think everyone's happy.
I agree.
Great. Once again, thanks so much, Sabine, for making this happen. We'll have this session. This session is recorded. We'll have this shared in all our communication channels in the next couple of days. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask on the Slack channel. I'll just share the link on the chat. Once again, thanks everyone for joining for today. We'll conclude the community call for today.
Thank you,
And we'll see you
Vinny.
next
Thank you for putting the Slack channel in there. That's another resource that I forgot to put in there, is that we do actually also have a Rafiki Slack channel within the Interledger workspace. So if you have questions, you can also reach out there.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all very much.